Welcome back to the Winning Life podcast. It's why am I not seeing results yet?
Like, I'll go on a run and I want to be at my peak fitness after one run. And I'll come home and go, oh, why am I not seeing the results yet?
The results are the byproduct, but ultimately it's the process that we need to engage with.
Then the result, isn't it? It's actually who we become on the journey.
Okay, so let me pick you up on what you just said.
Uh-oh.
Because I've never heard that. Why am I not seeing the results? What am I saying about the process? What do I believe about the process? What is the pattern that's working against me? Who do I need to become? Welcome back to the Winning Life podcast. How are you all doing out there, and how are you doing, Mrs. Morgan?
I'm doing very well, thank you, Mr. Morgan.
Excellent stuff. You've just had a glass of water,
Yes.
which is my answer to everything, isn't it, when there's something wrong?
Dear me. And literally, any one of our kids, who are now adults, they're not children, but if they say, oh, I've got a headache, have some water. Oh, stomachache, have some water. I'm tired, have some water. Like,
It is the answer.
I've got a sore throat, have some water.
Dad, my arm's just been cut off.
Water.
Start with some water.
Literally, it's your answer to everything, isn't it? Although it did work because my heart rate was a little high. Had a glass of water and it's gone down to 76.
There you go.
Per minute.
There you go. It is the answer. So before you do anything else, have a glass of water. It's the water of life.
Water.
Does that bring back anybody?
School
songs?
assembly.
Yeah, there's water. Water of life. Jesus gives us the water of life.
Only if you went to a Church of England school.
I think
Do you reckon?
I think back in the day, everybody sung it.
Back in the day, assemblies.
Back in the day.
With all the harvest festival songs.
Oh, yeah.
And
We better not get into that because
No,
we'll end up having
the whole podcast will be old songs from when we were at school.
Although I think you'd like it, wouldn't you?
I do
enjoy
like
it.
a little bit of nostalgia, I do.
Oh, a bit of nostalgia, that's
You
it.
do know nostalgia, when years ago, I'm talking about like centuries ago, they considered that to be an illness, a mental illness.
Nostalgia? Mm-hmm. Because
it makes you sick, looking back all the time.
Oh.
I know it's a little bit of fact for you today, whenever you're listening to this morning.
Yeah.
Yeah, it basically, they used to see it as a mental illness because nostalgia, looking back, having that kind of wishing things for how they used to be, makes you ill and sick. There you go.
Nostalgia.
Go and look it up. I'm not making it up.
Well, it does sound like an illness. Algia. There's a lot of other algias, aren't there?
It's an ailment. It's like neuralgia.
That's it, neuralgia. That's it.
Condition.
That's mouth or something, isn't it? Well, we better not get into
Anyway, we're getting
health and science.
way off topic here.
We'll be misdiagnosing people and all sorts. But basically, my advice to you today, get a glass of water.
Even if you're nostalgic, get a glass of water.
It will wash away those memories and get you ready for the future that you have got inside of you.
Can you tell who likes to look back and who likes to look forward? There we go. Anyway,
eyes on the prize.
What's the question for today's episode before we fill it full of our just chit chat?
Yeah. So the question today in our episode is this: why am I not seeing results yet?
Is it because you've not had a glass of water?
And that's the end of the episode, people.
I literally, going back to that, if you were a GP, you would literally write a prescription. Go and have a glass of water.
No, I'd have on my door, do not enter until you've had a glass of water.
Anyway, so why are we not
seeing the results?
Why am I not seeing results yet?
And again, this is the time of recording. We're still in January, and so this is the time. In fact, they do say, I think it's 21 days into January.
Yeah.
This is the period where people's kind of resolute determination to follow through on those New Year's resolutions dips, and people kind of end up not doing what they said they were going to do. So this is kind of the stage where people are kind of saying, there I go again. Yeah. I've not done what I said I'm going to do, or I've been doing it and nothing's changed. So sack that. Let's give up. So this is probably a good time to be talking about it.
It's a good time to talk about it because people start, like you said, they start off with all that renewed enthusiasm, ready for a new year, new month, whatever. But as we've been talking about, if we don't live from the inside out, we end up coming a cropper, and that's what people probably are doing. But we often come up with words for the year, don't we? What's yours for this year?
Well, I've got expansive is kind of one that we have together.
Absolutely.
But I've actually got 3.
All right, show off.
But I'd say if I was to pick one, it would be consistency.
Okay, that's good. Because the reason why I'm saying it is because mine for this year was resolute. And obviously we talk about resolutions, but that word has become kind of, I think, watered down with the whole New Year's resolutions. What am I going to be? But resolute, I think, is a real, good word, isn't it?
Yeah, it's got a bit of...
It's got a bit of a grip behind it. I'm going to be resolute.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, it's going to be interesting because I am an extremely impatient person. You don't have to agree. I'm a really impatient person. I'll go on a run and I want to be at my peak fitness after one run. I want to have lost 2 stone and have the body of a 25-year-old after one run.
And a glass of water.
And I'll come home and go, oh, why am I not seeing the results yet? But I need so I've got resolute for the year, but I need your word of consistency.
Yeah, and I think we're all the same, aren't we? We and this is where results are important, and this links back to one of our previous episodes. It's about the results are the byproduct, but ultimately it's the process that we need to engage with. But really, when we look in the winning conversation, we try and look at starting everything with who.
Yeah.
So a result is a what. Okay, this is what I want to achieve. I want to lose those pounds. I want to increase my income. I want to expand my friendship group. I want a deeper spirituality, closer walk with God. Whatever that result is. Nothing wrong with those results. But really we need to start with, and people first of all maybe take one step back, and that is to the how. Well, how am I going to achieve that result? Which is a great question. But there's 2 deeper questions than that. It starts with, okay, who is the person I need to become that this result is naturally aligned to? Because you just said, again, looking at the result, why am I not seeing this result after 2 sessions? Or I might say, why am I not seeing this result after doing 10 social media posts? Why is my followers not increased? Or, we could all apply a different thing. But you see, the reason I'm asking that question is because I have not yet become the person who naturally does those things.
Yeah, that's true.
So every day we need to become the person who would naturally be the person who runs, or the person who would naturally make the social media posts, or the person who would naturally want to spend time praying, meditating, whatever it is, first thing in the morning. So again, it's about, I need to become that person. I need to see myself as that person. So before we get into how we're going to do it or what the result is, I need to become that person. Because the reality is, if it was, and there's a great book written, I've forgotten the name of Brian Clemmer, I think it is, and he wrote a book, and I thought the title alone was worth paying for the book. Was if it was only about how, we would all be rich, skinny, and fit, or something like that.
That's so true.
If it was only about how to, and that is true, isn't it?
Very true.
There's 1,000,001 how tos. We live in the information age, for goodness sake.
Yeah.
How tos. You used to have to wait to see an advert in the paper and then write off for an article on how to do something. Or now you pick up your phone. It's probably arriving at you before you've even asked it. Some algorithm has picked up on the fact that you want to lose weight or you want to achieve this result. So information's coming at us. So we know it's not about how-tos. We know it has to be deeper than that. And first and foremost, it's about, do I believe I am the person that would naturally do these things? And I need to start there. And then the second level is, well, why do I want it? So those are the 2 questions that I think maybe we could spend some time looking at, because ultimately, if the who and the why isn't right, then that is usually where the lack of results come.
It's true. And going back to that whole thing of being an impatient person, we talked about this in our very first episode, I think, about prizing the process, that kind of thing. We've got to be willing to go through it. But then the result, isn't it? It's actually who we become on the journey. And like you said, we have to see ourselves as that person who, like you said, is a runner, or is somebody who can grow their own business, or, whatever it might be, or be a good mum, right down to everything we do. We want that, but we have to see ourselves as that person.
Because again, just sorry to jump in there,
no,
but the more you see, because I can just say, well, this is the person who I see myself as, therefore, I automatically will end up doing what I need to do. And it's not an automatic thing. But what happens is, the more I operate and choose to live from, this is who I believe I am, the more evidence that every time I follow through on that, the more evidence I see of myself doing that. See, the problem is at this time of the year, we've all got evidence of the last 10, 20, 30, 40. You can put how many years there, where you didn't follow through on something. So you've got this whole stack of evidence that says, no, this is who you are, Leanne, this is who you are, Gareth, because you've done this 101 times. And so your evidence is overwhelmingly in favor of the person that you don't want to be. So
True.
The only way of counteracting that is starting to build up the evidence of who you now are. So really, every time you go to the gym, it's not about seeing any change on the outside. It's not about, when you put a post up, it's not about how many likes I get. If I am having a conversation with somebody, it's not about will they become my friend or not. It's every time I act in alignment to the person I believe I am, I increase the evidence based upon my experience of who I am. And then that's when that initial effort and energy, it doesn't remain the same. Over time, it becomes easier.
Yeah, and the thing is, I think that we are fed constantly the thought that seeing is believing. If once I've seen it, then I'll believe it.
Yeah.
So once I see it's beginning to work, once I begin to see the results, then I'll believe I'm that person. Once I've got my business up and running, and then I'll believe I can do it. Once I step out in confidence and meet new people, then I'll believe I'm that kind of a person. And naturally, and this is where confession will come in, I am more that kind of a person. I think we all are as human beings.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
But there are definitely different levels to that, because of lots of different reasons. We're all made up very differently, different strengths, weaknesses, etc., and characters. You will be more likely to believe something forever, even if you only see it at the very, very end. I want to see it right at the start to know that that's what I'm going to do. It's a challenge for me. And I'm sure, for some of you listening, you might say exactly the same thing. That is one of my biggest challenges, because I can't see it in the natural. How can I believe that'll ever happen?
Okay, so let me pick you up on what you just said.
Uh-oh.
Because I've never heard that before. So no, seriously. So when you said, I am the kind of person that will more likely to see it once and then keep believing it, why do you think that is? And I wouldn't necessarily say that is true about everything. It might be just certain things that I find easier. So again, what do you mean by that?
So I will give up quicker, possibly, than you or somebody else, because if I don't see a result, I will interpret that as I'm no good, it's no good, we need to finish.
Not me and you.
No, not you.
It's not that kind of conversation. We have a glass of water.
Your answer to everything. No, so let's go back to, for example, the running thing.
Yeah.
Because that's, while it's a light-hearted thing, we can apply it to everything. So years ago, I back in whatever 3-4 years ago, I got to what I would say just at the age of 40. I was so proud. I got to what I would say my peak fitness. I got to running 8-9 miles. I was kind of healthy, fit, ate well, all those kinds of things. For reasons that we won't go into today, health reasons, and whatever. that all went by the wayside. So now that says to me, oh, that's just who you are now. So there's no point. And because now it's harder to get back into that routine, you just, like you said, it's the evidence stacks up that that's just who you are now. Just accept it. Because it's easier to accept that's just the way it is, and believe that and build a life around that, than to perhaps risk disappointment. And I'm not very good at risking disappointment.
That's interesting, isn't it? So yeah, no, it's true. And I think the level of, we do all have different levels of, what can I call it, like a disappointment
avoidance
or threshold. So like we have different pain thresholds. Let me just say right now, Leanne's pain threshold is 100 times greater than mine. So there's a real warrior here in terms of pain threshold. I mean, not only giving birth to 3 kids, but everything that she's been through. And again, like she said, we'll probably pick up on that in another episode.
Sorry to interrupt, but just to let you know that in every episode, Gareth and Leanne will be talking about the importance of getting a plan for your personal and professional life. That's why they've developed the MVP plan. When you develop your MVP plan, surprising opportunities and uncommon results follow. Visit thewinninglife.tv today to get access to your plan and the steps on how to use it. Let's head right back over to their episode.
But I think we do have different disappointment thresholds. And again, a lot of that I think is rooted in our experience.
Yeah.
So things that have happened to us. And again,
true.
Let me just bring in here, you're going to hear more and more, and you'll see on our website, etc., and links to, the MVP plan. And behind the MVP plan is a process, and it's a 7-step process. And to get the result that you want, and I use in the book, I use the gears. So I talk about the gears in a car, although more and more cars are becoming automatic. So I might have to change that analogy at some point. But, to get out of our driveway, for instance, it's not actually it's not first gear, first of all, it's to reverse.
Yeah.
Sometimes we need to look back. We need to see patterns in our past to gain insight and understanding. Because otherwise what happens is we just immediately try and do something, and then we hit a resistance and we don't know what that resistance is. And then we attach a meaning to that resistance that could be a million miles from that reason.
Yes.
But actually, there are some clues in our past. There are clues to our past as to barriers. There are clues in our past as to our potential. There are clues in our past as to our purpose. But we're just in such a rush, or we don't spend time reflecting. And reflection is the first part. So when if you come on to the MVP program, then reflection is the first starting point. And we're not all good at naturally reflecting or reflecting deep enough.
No, because sometimes you're afraid about what you'll find, or what will you uncover, because we're so good at covering it up, burying it under the carpet, covering up, moving on, that if we do a bit of a reflection, we might not like what we see.
100%.
In fact, we probably won't like what we see.
No, we won't. And again, I think we haven't got time to go into that fully, but I think we need to get curious as to patterns in our past, because like you've said, I don't think that human beings will naturally find it more difficult to do something from a level playing field. But of course, our experiences in our past are not all the same. So therefore, that's where the resistance comes in. Yeah. But again, I think let's look to nature when it comes to results. And I think, like you said, seeing is believing. That's a natural human disposition, isn't it?
Yeah.
But look at some of the processes that we know we don't really question in terms of the result. So I've mentioned about giving birth. So when you're told, you're pregnant, you kind of know. Well, it's not going to happen in 4 weeks.
That would be a lot better.
That would be pregnancy on
mouse
steroids.
Or a rabbit, they only have about 3 or 4 weeks, don't they?
Yeah.
But they're like that big.
But then they only live for
very
less.
true.
It's all proportionate, I'm sure. I don't know that, but so 9 months is the time that it takes for a child to be ready, and so that's the time you're going to wait. And you know, based upon experience, because it's been seen multiple times, what to expect. And I think when you know what to expect and you trust the process and you trust the principle behind that there is a stages for the baby to be born. And I remember you had diagrams of, you know, especially with our first, it's funny because with the first, it's like, you know, everything about it, you know, and you've, again, the first child, you know, you followed every millimeter part of growth. You celebrated every centimeter stage of their growth. And then by the time the third child comes along, you're like, oh we're with child.
Is that how I announced it to you? We're with child.
I am with child. But, you know, we've seen the process multiple times. And so you didn't see the child all the times, but you saw the effects of the process, and because you knew the principle of the process.
Yeah.
And again, I think that's where it comes back down to not how do I feel in the process, but what is the principle behind this? And again, you know, we live there's some fields, literally, if we were to look out of this window right now, it's blacked out at the moment, but we could see fields, and we know, you know, we're in wintertime right now. And so there isn't much activity taking place, but there'll be springtime and then there'll be harvest. There'll be, summer and harvest. And of course we had in the autumn time, the what do they call it? It's not furrowing, is it? What do they call when they ploughing? That's the ploughing the fields. There you go.
We plough the fields and scatter.
Another school song. Another good school song. But again, there's 4 seasons to a year.
Yeah.
But a farmer doesn't turn up. I've not seen the farmer turn up with his tractor ready to harvest it and kind of stood there by the side of the field thinking, where is it? Yeah. Like, where are these results? Because he's seen it multiple times. Yeah. He knows the seasons. He knows the process. And I think, again, you know, seasons are patterns. And again, it comes back down to, you know, again, our worldview about creation. Yeah. Everything in creation is based upon patterns. It's a God who created the universe is a God of patterns. Yeah. So again, you know, why am I not seeing the results? Well, what is the pattern that's working against me, and what is the pattern that I need to trust in?
Yeah.
What is the pattern I need to trust in? There's a proverb that says, "The sluggard does not plough in the autumn; he will seek at harvest and have nothing." In other words, it's ridiculous for that sluggard. A sluggard is that lovely ancient word for lazy.
It's a good word, though,
lazy, entitled person who expects something for nothing. He expects the result without the activity. And you know, my challenge this year is, Gareth, based upon your expectation, your goal for this year, your level of consistency has to match the result that you're expecting. So, you know, I think understanding seasons, principle, process is integral to us really starting to answer that question, why am I not seeing the results?
Yeah, and I remember somebody a long time ago sharing with me, I can't remember where the quote originally came from, who said it, but, you know, going through a really difficult time, and they said, you know, don't worry, you will see in the spring, in the summer, the results of what you're going through in the autumn and the winter. And it's so true. You don't see, you know, the seed, the tiny little seeds that go in the and that are sitting underground in the autumn and the winter. And then coupled with that, and you might feel like you're in this position right now where you're actually in the dead of winter. There's nothing but death, because autumn is all about things dying. You know, the leaves dying, the trees dying, all the plants, the seeds have to die in order to live again. So you might feel that you're in that position right now where you, in the dead of winter, there's nothing but death, cold, you know, there's no produce, there's no result right now. But then they were saying to me, just hold on, because in the spring and the summer, you will see the result of what grew in the winter time. In other words, all the time when you feel like you're banging your head against a brick wall, I'm not seeing it, I'm not going anywhere, this is not happening. And how many times have we said that and continue to in different situations, you know, even crying out, if you know, praying, saying, God, why am I not seeing what I want to see? Why am I not seeing the result of the hard work that I'm putting in? And actually, we can't force that. Like you said, we can try and manipulate and do things prematurely, but that will just result in something that is not developed. And like you said, the sluggard will have nothing. But it's when we get to that spring and summertime, we can rejoice, we can have fun, we can enjoy the result of what happened in a very dark time. Now, that's not saying that we all have to go through dark times to produce, but if you are going through a difficult, barren, in other words, not producing time, just start to see in the eyes of faith. Believing is not when you see it, it's actually before you see it in the natural. You have to see it in your heart and hold on to that, knowing that that season will pass and actually a spring, a summertime will come and you'll be able to enjoy it. But then it continues. There'll be another autumn and winter, because that's how growth happens. So you don't stay there in summer forever, as much as that would be lovely. There's another autumn and winter that will come to take to the next level of growth. And I think it's important to understand that the size of that seed could be tiny, completely unseen. You know, it might just be a tiny idea. It could be just a thought that, oh, maybe I could do this, or maybe I could, you know, build this, whatever. It's just a seed of an idea. It could be just a seed of a comment to somebody, even like a conversation. I think, well, that's not much, but actually it could grow into something massive if it's watered, if it's looked after, if you kind of sit through the difficult time when it's very, very small. Actually, time will produce the results that you want to see.
Yeah, 100%. And you know, I think the message behind what you're saying there is absolutely key. Don't underestimate the significance of the seed, because let's face it, all seed looks pretty insignificant. You know, we can walk through a park, we can walk through a forest with some incredible, strong, you know, fruitful trees that provide shade for, you know, hundreds of people or whatever. But it all started off as a pretty insignificant, or everything had an insignificant start. And everything does have an insignificant start, in inverted commas. It doesn't look like much. And so that's where, again, you know, if we, as Christians, we believe there is a battle between good and evil. And so if somebody is out to try and stop what is in you getting out, that dream, that hope, that purpose, then right at the start, you know, put yourself almost in their mentality. If I can just get you to doubt the significance of the seed that you've got, if I can get you to doubt the process, and in that, especially in that early stages, I think that early stage of any process is the easiest, isn't it, to doubt?
Yeah, but there's nothing.
There's nothing. There's no evidence. And it's at that point where we really have to ramp up our belief in the principle that it might not be nothing right now. And we're going to talk about this in another episode, but even what I am speaking out is absolutely key. So, you know, really, why am I not seeing the results? Well, again, you know, what am I saying about the process? What do I believe about the process? What is the pattern that's working against me? Who do I need to become? You know, what are the values? Again, it comes back, who is made up of the values that I adopt? So again, one practical thing I think we can do is regularly look at our values. Again, in the MVP program, we look at kind of helping you discover your values that you already carry inside of you, and regularly aligning your attitude, your behavior, your character to those values, because that's the soil. Your dream is the seed, your values of the soil. Yeah. Right seed, right soil, with a glass of water.
You had to get it in there somewhere,
I had to get it in there
you?
with the water, with the sunshine, with the right conditions, and boom, you get the harvest eventually. Good. So, you know, I really hope that this conversation is creating a curiosity in you about those patterns that are conspiring against you, about those principles that maybe you don't know what the principles are, and that's where your journey now needs to start. You know, what are your thoughts? What can we kind of challenge people with, do you think, to kind of go away from today and not just allow this to be information or you know, a good conversation, but actually to do something about it?
Not to really keep plugging the MVP plan over and over, but actually that is one key thing. It's planning helps, because when you are setting out and you don't have anything physical to look at. A plan really does help you know, well, it's okay because I'm only at step 1 or I'm only at step 4 out of 30 steps or whatever. So you're not expecting results to come tomorrow. You know there's a process you're going through. So having that step-by-step plan. Now, as we know, you can start off with a plan, but actually it could end up being something different. But that's not the point. The whole point is you know that there is a process that you're going through, that you will stick to that plan. So plotting it out, having a look, where do I want to be next week, next month, next year, etc. So you've got a little bit of a roadmap to go towards until you start to see in the physical what you believed for, because those are the things that will keep you on course. Just like going back to the pregnancy thing, just like when you are, you know, when we were having the children and everything was healthy and fine, we started to plan for them and plan what we're going to do on this month, what will happen on this month, and then we'll buy this and then we'll do that. And then you have your plan of when you give birth. It's all about planning because it's still in the unseen. I mean, I was definitely not unseen towards the end, very seen. But at the start, there is nothing there. So you have to just plan and hope and look forward and carry that dream, just like you would have a baby. You have to kind of incubate that dream, that hope, that desire, and know that it will come to pass in the end.
And be around other dream carriers. You know, I think one of the things, just as we come into land, I remember you did, I think it was only with with Erin, our eldest child.
Which is the case with most. Do everything with your first, then
that's it,
after that.
Well, the first process is always more difficult. But I remember, you know, you used to go to classes, you used to get around other people and to have, just connecting this to the MVP program and how we're trying to serve you is to create environments where you can be with other dream carriers, because, you know, when you had that niggle, is this normal? You know, I had this happen to me, or, you know, or my back is hurting, or, you know, is that normal? Just to have those people to support you in the process that can stop you, not that you can talk yourself out of pregnancy, but you know what I mean? You know, it can create fear, it can create anxiety, and we can, again, looking at one of the previous episodes, we can exit or consider exiting. We need that support. We need that accountability. So why don't you visit thewinninglife.tv and find out more about the MVP program. And of course, you can download the free 90-day plan. But listen, we want to encourage you. There is a process in place that will produce the results that you're looking for. But we want to encourage you, become the person that you need to become. There is more in you than you think. And until next time, from me, Gareth, goodbye.
And from me, Leanne, goodbye.
We hope that you enjoyed that episode. And if you enjoyed it, please go and subscribe over on all of our channels on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook, and not forgetting your favorite podcast platform. And if you head over to thewinninglife.tv, you'll be able to find all the resources available to you. Gareth has written several books which will help you on your discovery to building stronger and better lives. Come and join us for the next episode.